Hello everyone. Well, in our previous video, we discussed that how you can capture the response content. Well, in this video, we are going to discuss that how you can capture the status code of the response and as well as how you can validate that status code. So for that, I'm going to add one more test method inside our class, and let me call it as test status code. Add the rate test as an annotation with this method. So I'm going to modify our test case. The first two methods still remain same, that is given accept the response in JSON format and when I perform the get request. So if you remember that if I want to validate the outcome of the previous step, we need to take the help of then keyword. So similarly here I will write then status code 200 OK should be returned. So from the coding point, the given method, after that accept method, which will take the content type as JSON, then when method dot get, and this will take the object of URI as an argument. Now if you look at the return type of the get method, so the return type of the get method is of type response, which is an interface, and this is the class which implement this particular interface, that is RestAssured response IMPL. And inside this class there are two methods which are related to then. First one is then itself, and second one is the then return, which is coming from one more class, that is RestAssured response option IMPL. So I'm going to show you how to use both of them, then later we can discuss about their difference. So first of all, I'm going to use the then return method. So then return, and inside this we have a method called status code which will return as the status code. So I'm going to store this inside a variable called code. So it is going to throw me a checked exception, that's why I need to put the throws keyword, and here I will just print the status code. I will put a breakpoint over here and run this script in a debug mode. So as you can see here, we are getting 200 OK as the status code, and that is getting printed at the console. So now if I want to validate this status code, I just need to use the assert statement. So assert dot assert equal expected status code is 200 OK, and the actual is the code which is a variable. Now instead of specifying the hard-coded value, I will use the interface, that is http status. Inside this we have a static int, that is sc underscore OK. Okay, so the value of this particular integer is 200, and if I run it in debug mode again, so now we are getting the proper status code in the response. Now in order to cross check it, let me change the status code to some different one, and in that case our test method should fail. So as you can see here, our test method is getting failed. Okay, expected was 502, but we are getting 200. So this is the one way of getting the status code. But if you observe here closely, first we are getting the status code, we are storing them inside a variable, then performing the validation. What if I want to perform the validation inside the same same statement? That can be easily done with the help of then method. So here I will comment out this piece of code, and just copy till this part. After that, I will use the then. So instead of then return, this time I will use the then method. So inside this, there is a method called assert that. And here I can check for the status code. So http status, that is sc underscore OK. So here what I'm doing is that using the then method, I'm asserting that whether I'm getting the 200 code as a 200 OK as a status code. So that's why then assert that, and this is the status code. So I'll put a debug point over here and run this script. So as we know that we are getting the proper status code, that's why our method is getting passed. Let's say I change it to some different status code and run this. So this time our test method will fail. So as you can see here, our test method is getting failed. Okay. So this is the main difference between then and then return. So if you want to capture the status code, or any other information such as body or headers, in that case use the method then returns. And if you want to validate the response, in that case use the then method. So this is the main difference between then returns and then. Whenever you want to capture the outcome of your request, that is status code, response body, or header or cookies, in that case use then return method. And whenever you want to validate the outcome of your response, then use then method. Okay, so this is the main difference between then and then returns. So in this manner you can capture the status code and perform the validation with the help of then returns and then method.